Okay, so can you all see my screen share? Can you just give a thumbs up or thumbs down? You can see my screen share that says welcome, Alamance County. Perfect. All right, thank you. So we'll get going. Just before we start, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you'll keep your microphone on mute until the end of the presentation, we are going to have a question and answer session at the end, but I'm don't have a co-host here, so it's going to be easier if we wait till the end and take all the questions at one time. So if you do have a question and you just got to be able to put it down so that you don't forget, feel free to type it into the chat box. All right, and I'll make sure that we review those questions before we end the session. As I said, this session is being recorded, and we'll let you know when it's live and available for online access. If you have a special situation and a question that you do not want to ask tonight, that is fine. You are welcome to contact me. I recommend emailing me versus calling me. I'm not at my desk very often, so the best way to get a hold of me is via email. You see my email address there on the screen. Okay. So we're just going to do a quick introduction of sort of the key players, if you will, in this grant program. We're going to talk about the goals of the program and walk through the application itself. And then I'll just review the timeline, how much time you have to submit your application, when you can expect to hear something back. And then we'll go right into our Q&A session. So this grant is being sponsored and has seed money provided by the Alamance County Economic Development Foundation. So this is a private foundation, and their mission is to support the economic growth of Alamance County. And it's all of the county, all the municipalities, the entire county. The Alamance Chamber is a nonprofit membership-based organization that advocates for businesses in our county and is considered the local champion for local businesses. So what happens here in our county is that the Economic Development Foundation contracts with the Chamber of Commerce to manage economic development on its behalf. So everything that you see, my business cards, the logo on this presentation, everything is branded Alamance Chamber, but the work that I do and this grant program is actually sponsored by the Alamance County Economic Development Foundation. I have a Small Business and Entrepreneurship Advisory Council that oversees and has governance over the program work that occurs within the small business and entrepreneurism realm. And I am the program manager for all of that. So it is the Small Business Advisory Council, which comprises the grant committee, and the grant committee is the group of people who will be reviewing the applications and making any award decisions. Not me, but it'll be the grant committee. Okay, so why are they even offering a grant program? What are they hoping to get out of it? And when I say they, I'm referring back to the Economic Development Foundation. Why are they putting up money to do this? As I mentioned just a second ago, their goal is to enhance our local economy. So one of the things that they want to get out of this grant program is an additional way to help stabilize, diversify, and grow or strengthen our local economy. They also want to stimulate innovation. So entrepreneurs, that's all of you. You're innovative, you're creative, and it's that innovation that is so important to economic growth. It brings new ways of doing things, new perspectives, better ways of serving customers, and overall better ways of solving problems. So innovation is very important. The other thing that entrepreneurism and innovation do is it improves our quality of life. So you can think of a multitude of products that have improved our quality of life over the years. So that's another reason why this is important. Did you know that small businesses provide 46% of all jobs in the US? So small business, entrepreneurism bring quality jobs to a community. And the other element is to anchor businesses in Alamance County and help them to grow and flourish and stay here. So if you think about LabCorp started by an entrepreneur, and it grew and grew and grew, and to look at what it is today. So we can't all be LabCorps, but it's that same concept to start a small business here and grow it, and it provides jobs, innovation, the things that we just talked about, and it keeps that investment here in Alamance County. So now you know a little bit more about why the Economic Development Foundation wanted to offer this grant program. Let's talk for a minute about who is eligible. So just some of you might have seen this brochure. If you haven't, don't worry. The same material is on our website, and I'm going to show you that in a few moments. But you'll see in the brochure, it talks about actually 3 different types of grants that are being offered. The third type of grant is not active right now. Right now, what's being offered are 2 types of grants. One is called Launch, and one is called Growth. And so Launch is really for startup businesses. Those who are just getting their feet off the ground 6 months in to their lifespan. And Growth is for businesses that have been around for 2 years or more. We're going to talk about that in a little bit when we get to the application. If you're applying for the Growth grant, you want to make sure that you have filed at least 2 years of corporate tax returns, okay? All right, so a few other things about eligibility. Number 1, your business must be located in Alamance County. You cannot live in Alamance County, but your business exists in another county. You have to have your business in Alamance County. You also have to be in business for at least 6 months. So if you're a startup, you got to have been going for at least 6 months. Any applicant has to be current on any taxes, fines, fees. All of that has to be current, as well as applicants have to be current on any existing loan payments. So other than that, that's really all there is to eligibility. But we're actually going to refine that a little bit as we go through the application. All right, so bear with me one moment. Okay. Can you all now see what you should be seeing is a page on the Alamance Chamber website with the Alamance Chamber logo in the upper left corner. If I can just get a thumbs up or thumbs down. If you can see it, give me a thumbs up. I see a thumbs up there. Okay, thank you, Eric. All right, so this is where all the grant information resides on the Alamance Chamber website. And it includes a narrative form, a lot of the same information that we're talking about tonight. I'm going to kind of scroll down right now to the grant application section. We're going to walk through that and talk about that. Just remember, if you have questions, just go ahead and either make a note to yourself. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, or you can go ahead and type your question in the chat box, and I'll address all the questions at the very end of the presentation. All right. So the initial part of the grant application is pretty standard: name, mailing address. We do ask for your social security number, birth date, daytime phone number, driver's license. And we want you to be able to state that your business is or is not located in Alamance County. One note that I do want to stress to you all is this information is uploaded on a secure server. It is not uploaded to the cloud. This is a secure process, and any information that you share through this application will be held in confidence and will not be shared unless it's absolutely necessary for underwriting purposes, but it will not be shared outside of the grant committee. Once the award announcements have been made, all information that you've submitted will be shredded and destroyed. So I want to assure you, this is a confidential process. So you're going to enter information about yourself, and then we do ask a question: if you have received any type of business advising or counseling services through our Small Business Center at Alamance Community College, through what's called the SBTDC, and unless you've been in business for a while, it's probably likely that you've not crossed paths with them. Or you might have met with me or someone here at the Alamance Chamber. This is just a question that we're using for our own internal marketing purposes and really has no bearing on the outcome of a grant award. So just to make that clear, don't feel like if you haven't done that, that's going to penalize you, because it won't. We ask about when your business opened, the registered or legal name of your business, but also if you're doing business as another name, please include that as well. We want to know about your legal structure, if you have formally incorporated. If not, you're probably a sole proprietorship. Then your business address, and in what type of space do you currently operate? So what that is referring to is, where do you conduct your day-to-day business? Do you work out of your home? Do you go to a co-working space? Do you lease office space? You built a shack in your backyard? Just let us know a little bit about that. We also, if you've incorporated, you have an EIN number. So please include that if you have it, and your business phone number. We also would love to take a look at your website if you have one, and also share any social media handles or accounts that you might have for your business, so we can go online. Number one, to follow you, and number two, just to see what you're posting and learn a little more about your business. There is a great desire by the Economic Development Foundation to put a special emphasis on serving veterans, minorities, and women-owned businesses. So if you are any of those, please feel free to check all that apply. And we also would like to know if your business has more than one owner. And if so, please tell us about your business partners and what % ownership each partner has. All right, so now we're getting down into some of the nitty-gritty. Describe your business, including but not limited to a detailed description of your product or service, your distribution channels, your marketing strategy, and competitive advantages. So a lot of that is kind of fancy terminology for tell us all about your business. You can talk about how you got started and why. Who do you sell to? And there actually is another section you'll see right below it about who your current and potential customers are. But how do you sell to them? Do you sell through social media platforms? Do you sell through eBay? Do you sell by just connecting with other people? Do you go out and call on other businesses? Do you sell your products in retail stores? Tell us how you sell those products. In other words, how do you get to the customer and through what paths do you use to get your product to the customer? Do you have a marketing strategy? So for example, my marketing strategy might be that I just post on Facebook and Instagram, and I have a following that continues to grow, and that is my most efficient distribution channel and way of connecting with and communicating with my customers. And that's fine. Maybe you have something a little more formal where you actually call on other businesses and you have contracts. And that's great too. And so how do you get out and get more of those contracts? How do you get out and build your social media following? We want to know about that marketing strategy. And competitive advantages. What makes you special? What makes your business special? What makes it different? And what makes it stand out from your competition? And this is really important because remember, one of the things we talked about a few slides ago was that entrepreneurism and small businesses bring innovation. And this is an area where if you have something truly unique, this is a section of the application where you can really shine. So don't shy away from that. Be sure to highlight anything that makes you better or different from your competition. Potential customers, current customers, we want to hear about that. And here's one other thing. So where do you want your business to go? In 3 years, in May of 2026, what do you want your business to look like? We want to hear about that. Describe that in detail and give us a picture of where you're headed and where your intentions and your energy and your focus is going with regards to your business. Also, we want to hear about any other type of funding that your business might have received. Now, this could be other grants. Maybe you have a small loan. Maybe you had a rich uncle and he left you some money that you're using to fund your business. Maybe you have a business partner who is not active in the management, but just put up some seed money so the business can get off the ground. So tell us about that. And then if you have business bank accounts, we do want to know what your balances are so that we have some idea when you talk about where you want to be in 3 years, your accounts might be a reflection of that. What kind of debt do you have? Now, we get it. Small businesses might be paying back PPP loans. You might have other business loans. There is likely to be, and it's not unexpected, that you might be carrying debt. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but tell us about that in this section. We also want to know about your paid employees. Do you have any full-time or part-time employees that you currently pay? Of course, we're really not supposed to have employees that, other than ourselves as owners, and perhaps a spouse or two that, or significant other that might help us out from time to time, but we want to know about what kind of jobs is your business creating, and what kind of employment benefits do you offer? So again, small businesses often struggle to offer things like health insurance, but if you offer it, please describe it and tell us about that. But do you offer other things like flex time, or maybe they can work from home? Employees have their options. Do they want to work from home? Or maybe they get a great deal of input on writing their own work schedules. Or maybe, tell us what other, it doesn't have to be just the traditional medical insurance, health insurance, retirement plan. Tell us what kind of benefits, if you have employees, what kind of benefits do you offer them now? And what potential do you have? So again, thinking ahead, 3 years from now, to be where you would want to be, do you need to hire more people? Are they full-time? Are they part-time? A little bit of both? Tell us about that. And then in this section, tell us about your intention to keep your business in Alamance County. So this ties directly back to the goals of the Economic Development Foundation, to grow, support, nurture businesses here in our own county. So we want to hear about your commitment to the county and growing right here locally. All right, so I mentioned there are 2 types of grants available: a launch grant for new businesses and a growth grant for businesses that have been around for at least 2 years. The launch grant has a request range from $1,500 to $5,000. So if you're a startup and you need to buy some special equipment, you can request between $1,500 and $5,000. I'm going to put a little caveat here. Let's say you're trying to buy some special equipment and the amount comes out to $5,500. You can request a little bit over these amounts. These are recommendations, but please note the grant committee has full authority to make whatever award they want to. All right, they may not award the full request, but then again, they might. So if you're within the range for a launch grant of $1,500 to $5,000, that should be fine. If you're applying for a growth grant, the range is $5,000 to $15,000. But the same thing applies here. These are just recommended ranges. If you need to ask for a little bit over that, you're going to have to make a good case for it, but that's not going to disqualify you from the process. Here's an important question. You might need for business a total of $10,000, and let's say you're applying for a launch grant. So the grant committee is probably not going to make an award at 100% of the project expense, all right? So if I'm a launch company, I'm just getting started, I have $10,000 worth of equipment that I need to buy, I might ask for a $5,000 grant. But in order to make this project happen, I need another $5,000. We want to know about, and that's where it goes into this grant narrative. How would you intend to make up the difference? So I might ask for $5,000, but I might have to do something else to get the other $5,000. And what are some of those options? Understandably, for launch businesses, a $5,000 loan can be very difficult to get. And I'm going to call on Tisha Jackson here in just a second. She's with Charisma Capital, and her company does make business loans. So I'm going to let her say a few words here in just a moment. But there are other grant opportunities. There's something called a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, kind of like a bank, but not really a bank. And their loan underwriting criteria is different than a traditional bank, and they do loan to startups. So one of the things that we will need to hear about is how would you, the business owner, intend to fill the gap between your grant request and what the total project is going to cost. Now, in some instances, maybe as a startup business, I need a total of $6,000. I might apply for a $5,000 grant, and I'm going to put in $1,000 of my own personal money. Or I have someone who is a family member or friends, or I'm going to crowdfund that other $1,000. Again, we just want to know, how are you going to make up the difference between what you want to do with this money, what that total cost is, minus the amount of grant money that you're asking for. How are you going to get that resulting amount? Okay, so hopefully that makes some sense. Tisha, if you would like to unmute and maybe just say just a couple of words about, you know, the process of you're kind of having to do two things at once, right? You're applying for a grant and then possibly looking at a loan. So what words of advice would you have for anyone who might find themselves in that situation?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. What I would recommend is the first is to your credit. The lender, a couple of things a lender we're going to look at. They're going to look at to make sure you're legitimate. So you want to make sure your EIN, your address, your phone, everything matches on all platforms. So from your startup, your articles of corporation, your EIN, loan application, all your everything matches. So because they want to look and see, make sure you're legitimate. If something doesn't match, a lender may think that you're not legitimate. The second thing a lender is looking at is to see if they can get their money back. So they're going to look at your credit. So very important is to work on your credit. Sometimes people don't realize that it's not just payment history, it's your utilization. So if your utilization is high, then you can get denied for a loan. If you have good credit, there's options for sometimes even 0% interest for a year if you have good credit, depending on how much money you need. And I hope that helps. Hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Tisha.
My pleasure.
If you have questions going through this as you're looking at the total cost of what it is that you're hoping to do with this grant money, and trying to figure out a way to fund the gap, so to speak. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, or if you have a trusted banker, the Small Business Center, SCORE, and I'm going to talk about both of those in just a moment. They can also help guide you. So don't be shy about asking the questions. It's probably going to require a little bit of legwork, but in the end, hopefully you're going to get the total amount that you need so that your business can grow. It's our goal to make those things happen, but it does take some planning, some thought, some effort and energy behind it to put it all together. That is what we're hoping to see in this section of the application. So the total amount of funding that you're requiring, the total amount of your grant request, and then in this grant narrative, we want to know a couple things. A great description of how you plan to use these funds. Give us every detail you can think of. And this section, you can't overdo it. This is important because this is really what the grant committee is going to focus on. But also, if there is a shortfall, how are you going to make up the difference? So all of that will fall into the grant narrative / use of funds statement. Now, you'll see here that you have the option to select files. This is not a free form field that you're going to enter. So what this is going to require is that you type it up, save it, and then upload it as a document. If you need computer access to do the application, or access to the software like Microsoft Word, the Small Business Center has that. We have that here at the Chamber. Just let me know and we'll definitely connect you with that resource. Business financial statements required. So what kind of statements are we looking for? We purposely left that a little vague because we are talking about launch businesses and growth businesses. Growth business, at the very least, you ought to provide a year-end income statement and balance sheet, as well as the most current month-end income statement and balance sheet. Startup businesses, you might not have anything more than a forecast. But if you do have income statements, I would include the most current one. If there's other documents that you'd like to include in this section, please feel free to do so. You can also attach your most recent business checking account statement. And we do ask for a business plan. Now, a business plan, and you'll get you'll hear everything under the sun about what a business plan is. Some people say it's just a one-page document about how you intend to run your business, but it should include things like what you entered earlier in the application. Who are your customers? How are you going to communicate with them? How are you going to position yourself with respect to your competitors? How are you going to get your product or service to them? Is this something that you pack up and ship? Or is it something where you have to go in person to meet with them? What is it? So that's what a business plan should include. And I'm going to tell you about places where you can go to get assistance in just a minute if that's something that you need. Growth grant applicants should include a marketing plan. Photo ID, that could be a driver's license or some other official photo identification. So what you'd have to do is either take a photo of it, upload it, make a copy of it, upload it. Your 2022 or earlier tax returns. So if you're incorporated, these would be your business returns. If you're sole proprietorship, this is going to be your personal return. We do ask for a W-9 form. So this is one other very important thing. There is a link to the IRS website where you can get this form, download it, fill it out, and then upload it with your application. Note, if you receive a grant award, this is a taxable in most cases, and you'll have to confirm it with your accountant or bookkeeper, but this in most cases will be considered a taxable event. So that means when you pay your 2023 taxes, you're going to pay tax on this as revenue, okay? So don't forget that, because we have to take that W-9 form and file it with the IRS. And that's what that is for. Okay, we do ask for your company logo as well. If you want to include any other materials, whether they're documents or you just want to do a short little video, if you want to connect us to something you've done on social media, this is your chance to do it. You just have to save it as its own file and then upload it. And then we ask for a certification of submission, that the information you are submitting is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge. And also that you will allow us to use your name, your company logo in the Chamber's print and digital media. We want to give you some recognition. So anyway, that is the application. If you have specific questions on that, just hold them for a few more minutes or type them into the chat box. I'm going to go back to presentation here. Okay, can you see my screen now? It says the application. Everybody good? All right, thank you. All right, so this is a competitive application process. So there is no set limit on awards to be made. What's going to determine the awards will be who's submitting in each category. So you can only submit in one category, and essentially you are competing with the other submissions within that same category. So you really want to put your best foot forward, and you want to make sure you tell the complete whole story about your business. So again, don't cut yourself short in that narrative. Make sure that it is detailed, rich with description. We should have, it's just like a resume in applying for a job. We should have a really good feel of what your business is, what it does, who it serves, its competitive advantages when we read this grant application. And we should really get a great vision of your vision for your business over the next 3 years. Just a reminder, the more you can tie the narrative in your descriptions about how you can meet any of the Economic Development Foundation's kind of points, key points, the better argument you are making for your business. So let me give you some examples. So if you remember, I said that the Economic Development Foundation wants economic growth and stability in Alamance County. Well, can you think of a way that your business contributes to that? If so, make sure you include that in your narrative. How about diversity? And it's more than just male, female, minority. It's also differently abled people. So for example, if I had a pie making business, I might talk about the fact that one of my employment strategies for my business is to seek out, train, and hire differently abled members of our population. That adds to the employed diversity in our community. Innovation, quality of life. Is there anything about your business, your service, that adds to the quality of life for Alamance County citizens? Or what kind of innovation do you bring to the market? What makes it really special and really different than anyone else? Is this a new technology or a new way of doing things? And then also your commitment to the county. What is that about your business that you can say demonstrates that you might have started here, but what's your intention to stay and grow here in Alamance County? So we've covered a whole lot. I see there are some comments in the chat box, but I want to point out that there are some free resources that are out there to help you through this application process. Because I realize that this is not something you're going to knock out in 20 minutes. This is going to take some thought, some effort, probably some planning. So at Alamance Community College, there's something called the Small Business Center. It's actually located, the Small Business Center is located in Burlington at what they call the Dillingham Center. The phone number's there on the screen. They have free business advising services, as well as a full library of on-demand and live seminars, webinars, where you can learn practically anything you want about business. And for the most part, everything is free, but especially the advising. So if you think that that's something that you would want to take advantage of, don't wait. Call them tomorrow and schedule an appointment, okay? Because I want to make sure that you're able to get an appointment to get in and then get the advising that you're looking for and still have time to complete the application. So time is of the essence here. At least call them tomorrow, make your appointment. There's another organization called SCORE, and it is a wonderful organization that has a lot of great, very experienced startup business mentors. And this is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. That's what SCORE stands for. They have their website there. You can go online to score.org/find-mentor/request-mentor. This is actually a national organization, but they do have local chapters, and they will assign you a mentor who can walk you through this process as well. Most of their meetings do take place virtually, but they, again, a free service. They are more than willing to help you and walk you through it, and also provide some additional business advising services. So it's a great resource there. Both are free, and I encourage you to take advantage of them. So just a reminder, this is a competitive process. So just because you submit an application does not mean that you're going to get an award, all right? So your business will be competing with the other businesses in that same category. And the grant committee has full authority to make whatever award they want to. So it's possible they might say, nope, there's not going to be any awards, or I really don't think that that's going to happen. Or they can decide, oh, we're going to make an award to everyone who applied, but we're not going to give them the full amount that they asked for. So you have to understand that there's no guarantees one way or the other. It is competitive. So again, you really want to make this application stand out, and you want to make your company shine. So I just need to run over a couple of other things that's sort of the fine print of this grant process. Grants may not be used for any of these following items. So any tax implications due to receiving a grant award. So if you are given a grant award, you can't use any of the money to pay taxes on the money. You also can't turn around and grant that money or utilize the money to cover a product or service that you would have donated. You can't use it to purchase equipment or improve real estate that's intended for your personal use or your family's personal use or your rich uncle's personal use. It has to be for your business. You also cannot use it for any type of political activities, and you cannot use it to fund the owner's salary. You can't use it for any speculative ventures, and that would be things like the stock market or cryptocurrency. And you can't use it for lending or investment. And you also can't go out, use it to buy property that you're just going to turn around and flip or sell, or just hold as an investment. And we don't make grant awards for any companies that are involved with pyramid cells or distribution plan businesses. And this is for US citizens only. So anyone who applies must be a US citizen. We also do not allow the grant monies to be used to fund membership in a private club. And then finally, the use of grant monies, if you receive any, must be consistent and in accordance with any state and local regulations governing your business. So if your business, like a daycare or trucking and logistics, highly regulated, you have to be in full compliance. And also any terms and conditions established by the grant committee. This is probably coming into play where, let's say you are given, you are awarded a grant, but with the grant award letter, the grant committee says, this is great, Stephanie, we're going to award you your $5,000 for your business. But we want to see you do two things, and we're going to disperse the funds after you've completed each of those two things. So the grant award letter would spell out that I have to write a comprehensive marketing plan using my SCORE advisor, and once that is submitted to the committee, they'll disperse $2,500 out of my $5,000 grant. And then after I have met with a CDFI and applied for a loan to make up for the $1,000 that additional monies I need for my business, then they'll disperse the other $2,500. So that's just an example of what this terms and conditions refers to. So that may deal with the release of funds, how they're released, when they're released, and then tied to any type of what we would call technical assistance. So working with a small business center or with SCORE, that's what we would consider to be technical assistance. And then, of course, must be consistent with any policies established by the Economic Development Foundation and the Alamance Chamber. So timeline. We're accepting applications through 5 p.m. on Friday, June 30th. That is a hard stop. No extensions or exceptions will be made to that. So make sure you get your grant submission in early. And I would not wait till 4:59 p.m. on June 30th, because if too many people try to upload their applications at once, it could cause the website to fail. So again, we're not going to extend the deadline. So Try to get it in at least a day or two earlier, but maybe even for your peace of mind, do it a few days even before that. If you finish the application and you're done next week, submit it. That's perfectly fine. There's no penalty for early submission. So then once we receive all the applications, the grant committee goes into the 2-month review period, which will run from July 1st to August 31st. And then we expect during that time, if the grant committee is really interested in your application, but they have questions, or they might ask you to come in for an interview, you'll be contacted directly. And then we anticipate that all applicants will be notified one way or the other, no later than September 1st of any awards made. All right, so let's do this. We're at question time. Let me go ahead and show the chat. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, let's see. If the business is not structured as a corporation and does not file corporate tax returns, then we are considered launch or growth. Actually, you would probably be, if you're not structured as a corporation, you're sole proprietorship. So your launch, if you've been in business essentially 6 months to 2 years, your growth, if your business has been around more than 2 years. So instead of a business tax return, you're talking about a personal tax return. All right, if awarded, what reporting will be required? Great question. So if you are rewarded, in your award letter, it will spell out what reports will be required, because every situation is probably going to be different. Another question, if we own multiple businesses, are we allowed to apply for each business? Yes, but you have to have a full application for each business and all the necessary documentation. Another question, for a single member LLC, does the entire 1040 have to be submitted? Why not just the Schedule C? I would have to go back. So the criteria was established by the grant committee. So I would have to go back and get that answer from them, which I'm more than happy to do. All right, if anyone else has questions, please unmute yourself and we can hopefully either raise your hand or just go ahead and speak up with any questions or comments that you might have. Okay, hearing none. I'll just say again that as you go through the process, feel free to reach out to me if you have a comment, an issue, whatever that might be, or communicate and ask your advisor if you're using the Small Business Center or SCORE. I'm going to put go back to the screen sharing. So I've got my phone number, my email address on the screen. You're welcome to reach out to me. Please note there is 1 week at the end of May where I will not be here. and not able to answer your questions, what I would suggest is if you just during that time something comes up, shoot me an email. And when I get back in the office, I will respond. So that'll be about May 31st, June 1st, and I'll get back to you. You'll still have a month before you have to submit. All right. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I had one question, Stephanie. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. If in one of the sections, the narrative we want to describe is larger than the physical box that you give us, can we make it as an addendum or as an attachment and add it on?
You can. That box will actually expand, but it only expand to a certain point. So I think if there's anything, any additional notes, addendums, what have you, there is a section at the very end where you can add optional items. And that's the section where it mentions a video. If you upload a video, please don't make it more than 5 minutes because that file size would be monstrous. But that would be a great place to upload any additional comments, addendums, etc. Anything else? All right. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And you know how to reach me if questions come up. I do encourage you to seek out some guidance from SCORE or the Small Business Center. But good luck to you. I'm looking forward to seeing some great applications and also looking forward to announcing some great awards around September 1st.
Stephanie, I had one more question that I
Certainly.
put in the chat.
Yes.
Will there be any reporting requirements after the grant monies are released?
Yes. Thank you. Yes. So that will be specific to the award, and it will be spelled out in the award letter, which is essentially a memorandum of understanding between the grant committee and the recipient.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Thank you, Stephanie. It's very informative.
Well, thank you all for joining. Have a great night, a great week, and I hope to see you all very soon.